A French minister resides at Milan with the executive power of that republic, which Austria has so reluctantly reorganized. What right has that minister of peace to attempt reforming a power to which he is accredited? If diplomatic agents permit themselves to overturn republics of which the treaties of peace have consecrated the independence, if those treaties guaranteed by the French people and paid for with the purest of its blood are not respected by the Directory, where then will be the limits of the directorial authority? That authority cannot become tyrannic with our allies, but in becoming despotic at home. Let then 1,000 times resound beneath these roofs the word of the address that you have received. If 5 or 6 persons are sufficient at Milan to overthrow a constitution, it will only require Paris, a rather large number of audacious innovators. Let us at the same time see in what those so much vaunted innovations consist, which they want to impose by force on Italy. They talk very much of economy. They are going, without doubt, to put a stop to the dilapidations. The contracts will in future be made public. A system of finance discussed and completed by the deputies of the Cisalpine people is about to be established. Before this system of order, the fiscal ordinances of our generals and commissaries, which are the source of so many complaints and struggles, will fail. No representatives of the people. There is no question of these sorts of measures. The economies that have been contemplated are confined to the suppression of 2 out of the 5 directors and a portion of the legislative body. Certainly, to find so powerful a resource, there was no necessary resort to the profound combinations of a commission of finances. In support of that diminution of the expenses, they adjourn the legislative body for 8 months in the year. They give to the executive power the initiative of the laws, and that is what they call perfectionating citizens. It was by such perfectionations that in days of yore the triumvirs arose at Rome. They wanted to concentrate the power, and the prescriptors soon divided the spoils and the blood of the Romans, and the great republic, to escape from the triumvirs, was reduced to resign itself to the yoke of Caesar. History reproduces incessantly events under different forms. Cromwell, like the triumvirs, wanted also to concentrate, simplify, and to perfect the parliamentary government. And as there is nothing more simple, less eccentric, and less complicated than the absolute power of a single man, Cromwell secured the whole power to himself. But Cromwell was English. He did not impose his yoke in the name of a foreign power. Before he employed force against the parliament, he waited patiently till that assembly had lost its popularity by its errors. He introduced his agents into it, excited them to act in direct opposition to public opinion, and reduced it to so great a degree of ignominy that when it endeavored to assume a parliamentary attitude, the time was past. Cromwell entered the House of Commons. He commanded his soldiers to overturn the mannequin of national representation. His soldiers obeyed, and English liberty expired because its parliament knew not how to preserve public opinion, and that daring man knew how to appropriate to himself that forsaken inheritance. And we are silent today? We permit our armies to be employed in oppressing the people who are our allies. Have we then too many friends in Europe? But have you all reflected upon the danger of calling the arms and the attention of the army upon these pretended perfectionings imposed upon the people against their will? Have you already forgotten that when the Republic is menaced, the French army knows how to deliberate? No, the representative system does not want defenders. If unfortunate and difficult circumstances have changed the inviolability of the system, that change was necessary for the preservation of the Republic. It must not discourage us. It proves that to save the country, there is no sacrifice impossible for the representatives of the people, even that of their lives. It proves that if civil war is a dreadful misfortune, the counter-revolution is the worst of all evils. Proclaim then that the Constitution of the year 3 has never ceased to be the supreme will of the people. that its revision cannot be obtained at Milan, as at Paris, but by constitutional means, and that to effect even to prepare for it by other means is an outrage, and that you are determined to stop in its impure course the torrent of innovations with which we are threatened. The Cisalpine alone can modify their constitution in their primary assemblies. No power upon earth can usurp the right of national sovereignty. I demand, citizens' representatives, that a message shall be addressed to the Directory to obtain from them, with the shortest possible delay, informations upon the reports which are spread of a movement in the Cisalpine, and of an innovation of which the French ambassador is accused. These informations will calm our fears, or at least they will provoke an explanation that is become indispensable for our honor, our independence, and our security. This harangue, delivered with some degree of impetuosity, was received with excessive applause. The impression of 6 copies was demanded, and everything announced a success likely to have gone far in influencing the Directory. The principal orators devoted to the government, astonished at first and so unexpected an attack, recovered from their surprise, but not daring to face a discussion, they preferred letting the effect which I had produced operate. They resorted to an adroit tactic and demanded the General Committee, to which they had a right when any diplomatic question was agitated. As I had not come to an understanding with any party, I was not supported with sufficient firmness, and a General Committee was granted. While they evacuated the tribunes, the ministerialists ascertained that there was no party linked either with the Jacobins or with the Constitutionalists, and they regained courage. Their disciplined phalanxes made a terrible outcry against my proposition, and I was left alone in the breach to punish me, without doubt, for having combined my attack with my colleagues, and notwithstanding my resistance, I was repulsed by the order of the day. The General Laos, who was waiting outside the chamber of the assembly, departed immediately, furious at the indifference of the council to the complaints of the Cisalpine government. May I now be permitted to judge myself, my discourse, and my conduct? The confession of a public man of past times may sometimes serve for us to understand better the public men of the present day. The Constitution of the year 3. Did I idolize it to such a point that I looked upon it as our palladium? No, certainly not. After the conventional tempest in which, like many others, I had placed great faith, I liked all in that charter, which appeared to offer a guarantee against the return of the reign of terror. I compared it then with advantage to the charter of 1791, but experience had cooled my ardor. When I arrived at the legislative body, I soon thought like the rest of the members of the Council of Ancients, and the half of those of 500. We saw that the charter had been violated in Fructidor by the prescription of 2 directors and a part of the legislative body. It had also been violated in Floreal by decimating the national representation. We cannot conceal that a charter violated is a charter destroyed. We felt that the state of affairs produced by those 2 violations was but a lawless act because it had never been rendered legitimate by the voting of the people. That voting not having taken place either after Fructidor or after Floreal, there no longer existed any legal form. We therefore no longer understood by the Constitution anything but the principles of the sovereignty of the people, of its representation divided into 2 chambers, of a collective and temporary government. We were sincere in those principles, but we had no longer any faith in the remainder because we no longer believe in that which has ceased to exist. A defeated organization will not revive. The principle alone, the soul, can survive the collective or individual body when struck by dissolution, if that dissolution happens from consumption or by violence. The principle will reanimate another body, more or less resembling the body that is no more, but it cannot give life to that which has become the prey of time, to that greedy inflexible, insatiable power that never lets go its hold of that which it has seized.